Our next speaker is known as the digital visionary in the executive team at Swedbank. He's someone we have the pleasure of working with on several exciting projects at the moment. He has held various management roles within the Swedbank organization over the years, and he's here to talk to us about the future after the storm. I'm almost certainly going to get his name pronounced wrong, but I'm going to do my best. Please join me in welcoming Girts Bērziņš, Head of Digital Banking Strategy at Swedbank. I did my best.
Thank you for such a challenging introduction and setting kind of expectations. When I got the opportunity to come to Reykjavik, I could not turn it down. So it's my second time here, and I will turn back a bit why it has as well some secondary special meaning for people from region where I'm coming from. So where is a clicker? And yes, I would like to share with you, I would not say it's some very finished presentation. It's like I would like to think aloud with you on some matters. And obviously we have this saying that we are as banks in midst of a perfect storm. But I'm not so much interested what happens in storms that I feel every day, but I'm more interested where it goes and what is a place under the sun or under the clouds or in earth in space or wherever. So I will share with you some thoughts, and I would as well love if you just challenge them, I don't know, directly through questions or in coffee breaks or afterwards linking through LinkedIn or whatever. Where I'm coming from Swedbank, obviously, but as you know, Swedbank has 4 home markets, and every week I'm commuting from a city which in turn of 18th century was the biggest city in Sweden, to the city which is now biggest city in Sweden. So turn of 18th century, Riga was the biggest city in Sweden because Riga was within, together with Estonia, part of Sweden. So fact, what some Swedes probably don't even recognize that Stockholm was smaller than Riga. Yeah, some things went wrong. I think today it's a bit different mathematics, but this picture I'm using for one more purpose, because if you look at the picture of Riga, there is one very particular thing. It's nice medieval town at turn of 18th century. That's exactly when Swedes entered Riga, it looked like that. So it is Riga when Swedes came to Riga. And one big thing you see there, it's fortifications, it's walls around. So medieval city with high walls. And what Swedes did to Riga, they did this thing. They built gates, Bill Gates. They built gates in fortification of Riga. And in a way, it was a rather early step even in Europe, because we know that this industrialization and this opening up happened a bit later. But Swedes actually prepared Riga to be open and integrated more in new reality. So in a way, business model, making things started to change in Riga. And by the way, this is not ancient photo, obviously. It's nowadays a photo, and those gates still are called Swedish gates. So Nordic people, selfie is a good place to be in Riga. Anyway, and then just 100 years later, the same kind of place, but you don't see anymore those walls. So yes, maybe it's not exponential change, but I think it was exponential maybe for those times. And Riga does not need any more walls, because Riga is open to trade, is open to the outside world. And if you look on Riga today, yes, you see some artifacts of medieval ages, but it is open city. It now reached another side of the river, and you see a Swedbank office shining bright there. So it's a nice place to be. And if we speak about history and about buildings and about taking walls, obviously this building here makes a lot of sense. And when I was first time in Reykjavik, I just stepped into this building. Oh, it really rings a bell. But maybe not for a reason what you think usually this building is associated, this the house. Yes, it's a place where Reagan and Gorbachev met, and so Cold War was starting to be warmed up. Oh no, it was collapsing. Yeah. So something happened, but it's not the most important thing in my life, maybe, and not the most important thing in the lives of Baltic people, I mean Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians. Main thing in this building happened 5 years later. And this is exactly the picture which makes warm to my heart always to be in Iceland, because Iceland was the first country in 1991 who dared to recognize that something has changed in Europe and in the world, and recognized the independence of Baltic countries. So Foreign Minister Hannibalsson was the first foreign minister who gave recognition of independence, so recognizing de facto that Baltic countries are now back on the map to 3 foreign ministers of Baltic countries. So really warm moment, but as well very symbolic. Again, one more wall was off. So Berlin Wall, but this is maybe even more important to our countries. But life went on, and maybe it's now a question whether it happened 3 years later or 3 years more later. But yes, this IT geek was quoted here saying that banking is not necessary. Banking is necessary, banks are not. So yes, I think I've read that it is 1994. So and it was in my life it was a year when first year I finished my career in banking, or first year of my career in banking. And imagine some guy saying that now banks are not necessary. Obviously, for at that time nobody paid so big attention. Now it's more and more hyped. And yes, everybody understands that the storm is coming, and storm is coming. Actually, not to all industries at the same time, but step by step, industry over industry, and now it is said that it is hitting banking industry. And we know the name of the storm is platform, so it's very, very obvious. And this is a nice slide gathered by Boston Consulting Group. We are quite often now using it internally, showing what industries were in disruption and what are now in this perfect storm. And important thing to see is that we are not alone. Banking is not alone. Retail industry is there as well. So there are still many things happening in retail industry, and there are industries which are still to enter this storm. And yes, those industries who have passed this storm, we know the not so nice history of printed media. Whatever was gathered in or captured in 50 years, gone in 7 years. Yeah, so advertisement income for printed media just collapsed. Obviously, we still see printed media, but obviously we are now consuming news in many different ways. And good news, I think, for news industry is that consumption has grown. So nothing bad with that, just a shape, and actors have changed. But if we look in other industries who we say that are after already the storm, then picture is not exactly like in media industry. And then I'm starting to think that was Bill Gates so right? He is not always right, as we know. And so this is a picture from industry. I used to work as well for some time. It's telco industry, telco in Sweden. And what we see is that look at brands, still the same brands are around, basically. Yes, but what happened to them is that their income is stagnating. Their income is stagnating, so they are pretty much alive, but income is stagnating. And I think the main reason is that they were being pushed in this so-called utility corner. So they are this, I yesterday used this term, and one guy was from telco industry, so sorry if somebody from telco industry, but I have been there as well. So they are used as dumb pipes. Yeah? So somebody else is creating really value-added and high-margin services on top of them. And they have struggled to find those new things. Yes, almost every telco tried to go in entertainment, but then global big techs like Netflix and just ruled over, and then size in that matters. So, but looking at that, I think, and coming back to that picture, I think we should not make so kind of big parallels industry by industry. Yes, we must understand that disruption is coming industry by industry, but it takes different shape in each industry. And then if you ask, yes, banking is necessary, banks are not, okay, let's put it there. But then about news are needed, printed media are not, yeah, maybe we can agree, still some are alive. Travel is needed, hotels are not, already some more question marks. So communications are needed, telcos are not. And then let's jump even a bit further on. Healthcare is needed, hospitals are not. So it does not sound very good. And then I'm just trying to revisit the same question of Bill Gates. And maybe he missed some big things that for some businesses, there is one component which is really big and important. It's called infrastructure. It's called reliability. Yes, we can compose service from very innovative components, but if let's say Facebook would be down for a day, yeah, maybe teenagers, no, not anymore, teenagers would not mind. But actually, I think nothing really bad will happen. If banking will stop in one country, digital banking, I mean, in one country for a day, I think there will be a big thing. So I think we are underestimating one component, which is this reliability of infrastructure. And that actually explains as well sequence of industries coming through this disruption. So yes, if you don't have this so big dependence on infrastructure, it's easier to disrupt you. It's easier to create a platform. More you have this infrastructure component, more you need to discover those roles. Who is a platform, who is supplier, who is doing what. So yes, but coming back to banking, obviously, I don't say that banking is now just will continue as it was started by Medici, because business model of the bank of today, it's not so much changed since Medici started modern banking. Yeah? Some even centuries before Swedes came to Latvia. Yeah? And yes, it was very kind of and it is a very profitable and sustainable business model. And to protect it, obviously, bigger walls were built around and still are. So we have those medieval castles called incumbent banks. And obviously, if you are Mr. Skinner, a teenage guy, seeing the walls, what do you want to do? Obviously, you want to climb, you want to penetrate, yeah? You want to enter. And obviously, we know that there are many attempts, and they have different names, PSD2, PSD3, whatever, MiFID, whatever. So, yeah, screen scraping and other nice stuff. But I think that there are some fundamental things that do not play very well. And one fundamental thing is that many of those teenagers who want to disrupt or penetrate walls, what they are doing, they just see a medieval castle and then they try to replicate the same medieval castle just in digital world. Yes, banking, cheaper banking maybe for some time is better than more expensive banking, but does it in reality solve the thing? And is the future now making what was old, this medieval analog model, just replicate it in digital and go on. I believe that future is not sustainable just by taking the same road. So there is some exit to the road what we have taken. So obviously there is very convenient to build the future by just incrementally changing the past, and that's how things were done in banking innovation, incrementally changing the past. However, I believe that now we are approaching the point where we need to do substantial change. And substantial change starts not with technology, but it starts in brains, in heads of everyone. So what is this change needed in brains? I think first of all, we need to recognize that we are not anymore in this bipolar world. What I mean, if you live inside the medieval castle, as well in digital castle, everybody who is outside, who is that? It's your enemies. And you just protect by building higher walls, and you try to kind of extend your life being there. Swedes opened gates, yeah. So and now we are integrated as Riga into modern world. So that thinking need to be adapted in incumbent banks, and exactly like Mr. Skinner said, adapt or kind of you are not anymore fit for future. But this adaptation starts with the thinking. So starting, yes, there are competing platforms coming, yeah, but probably not everybody of those competing platforms are your enemies. And so, yes, the name of the game is platform. So how, now a bit of theory, how we play it internally in Swedbank. So obviously, as well, medieval castle could be called in a way as a platform, just it's a closed platform. So we have products, we have customers, and we are connecting them. But just doors or walls are closed. Obviously, this is not anymore sustainable. And the first option, what almost every incumbent bank is doing nowadays, is looking beyond the current offering. Maybe we need to use other innovative things, how to make life for our customers more colorful. And basically, to say it very simple, platform is only about two things. It's connectivity and its capabilities. And that's it. So, but it's as well kind of the challenge. To have connectivity, you need capabilities. To have more capabilities, you need more connectivities. And partners nowadays look who has more connectivities, and then this is maybe a better destination to try to start this partnership. And for customers, the same. More capabilities they have, more connections they would love to establish. And nowadays, it's not only playing orange products for orange customers, but adding more colors. So why not Nordea customers using Swedbank capabilities to access Swedbank services, and maybe not Swedbank services. Suddenly, you have this platform which connects traditionally not your customers with traditionally not your products. And this is the thinking that nowadays this world is more flat, more connected, and some artifacts are historical evidences, but they are used for completely different purposes. And then one more connectivity. It's obviously connectivity to another platforms. Platforms of maybe your competitors, but platforms of different shape. And we just had interesting internal exercise, and it's hard to explain. It's obviously hard to explain, so I'm not still perfect in explaining to people. This is how I'm training even today. And how to explain is that this platform, I have only 5 minutes left. So in platform world, you cannot say that you have exclusive customer meeting. At the same moment, there could be multiple customer meetings happening at the same time. So customer asking to Alexa to book a hotel somewhere else, it will be then meeting with Alexa, meeting with Booking.com, and meeting with Swedbank, because payment is arranged through Swedbank. So suddenly 3 meetings at one point. So it's a bit of this schizophrenic picture. But that's hard, obviously, for human mind yet to adapt to this thinking. But unfortunately or fortunately, it's needed. So now a few words, what are those capabilities? And I think if we zoom into this core, into this platform core, then obviously every bank today has those three main capabilities. It's daily banking, it's lending, and it's savings. And I think that sometimes ambition of the bank is taken wrong. It's thought that, now open banking is to replace those three components with something more. In a way, maybe yes, but it's not actually our strategy. Our strategy is to look for components which are adjacent or near to the bank. And because if we will do nothing, obviously we understand our core will shrink. So not to allow core to shrink, we need to find the things which are close to the core, but already outside and with more colors. And then suddenly your core has grown. And suddenly you can see that also I said that we are not targeting to replace some of core elements, but if you do your homework, make your core system modular, then overnight you discover, your customers are churning to another platform and not using you as connector. Then if you have modular architecture, you just bring in this missing component. And yes, what the problem is that it's a different color. Another big thing, mental thing, which need to be done in banks is this. So how core systems are being built in banks. Historically, you had products, then you had some data layer around, and then you had customers around this data layer. Obviously, nowadays, those modern platforms do completely different logic. First, you have customer, and maybe it's even segment of one, so you have multiple layers of those profiles, and each customer has data layer, and having more data layer, you can have more product layers or solutions layers around. And suddenly, instead of just a few moments in life where customers are meeting with you, and yes, have these big moments, with this platform approach, you can make your life more colorful and customer life more colorful. And now zooming into what is this aftermath of the storm. And I don't think that just giving more mortgage options or more consumer financing options, that's a game. The game is on something else, where banks can really grow and where banks can have a role in this platform economy. It's not to fight somebody, but it's to discover what role of today could be used in this world of tomorrow. And this role is heavily around data. It's heavily around processing of personal data. And I believe that GDPR and all other nice four-letter combinations are driving SMEs and SSEs to nuts to run those personal data things. But maybe it's not needed. Maybe bank can be the place where customers store their valuable personal data. And then by consent, by giving and controlling consent, release those micro consents to micro situations in their life and take out friction for merchants, take out friction for themselves, and make this life better. So instead of fighting for somebody, banks are now looking how we can enhance. And not by accident, I said that we are at the same time with the retail industry in this perfect storm. I don't think that retailers will very much succeed running banking, and I don't think that the banking will very much succeed selling shoes, milk, and whatever. But however, combining this data processing, what we can do, and future distribution models of retail, I think there is a magic which can happen. And I think this is exactly where Meniga is so right with their business. This is exactly kind of unlocking potential of data, what customers can entrust it to the bank, and with customer consent, enhance customer experience and enhance life of merchants. So future is true ownership of data. So building higher walls will just not succeed. Giving more freedom, yes, it will succeed, but as well, it's giving control to consumers where their data are. Are they in safe location, and are they controlling every day? So I believe that in this data world, you need those strong processors. You need those secure elements of digital information flow, which why customers would love to share more data or keep more data digital way. And yes, future, I'm trying to explain to my colleagues that what is this ecosystem world. And I once said that by accident I studied some biology earlier in my life. So mushrooms don't fight trees. So that's a concept that you suddenly start to look, if you are a mushroom or tree, another is another, so you are not fighting, you find common grounds, how you live. And I believe that the future characteristics of anybody who wants to survive and fit into this platform world is have this empathy for customers, obviously, but empathy for your partners, empathy for your competitors, by the way, and find those places of symbiosis. And technology-wise, it's API or die, so it's so easy. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Girts. We have a whole library of questions waiting you, so I think we should take at least 2 or 3.
Oh, 11 votes. How seriously Swedbank does take beyond banking? What does that mean? Will Swedbank move into entertainment, e-commerce, space travel? As I said, that I don't think that we will succeed taking over other industries. However, we will succeed if we will find how we will benefit in other ecosystems, in platforms, how we will benefit maybe for Amazon. Oh, let's maybe not be scared about Amazon. Maybe Amazon is exactly looking for trusted, verified data platform in each home market. Yeah? So just thinking loudly. So those things beyond banking, I definitely think that it will not come into core. There will be some logical kind of border of the core. However, it's then exactly nice place for partnering. What non-bank products are you in the process of developing and rolling out? Yeah, I think we are, first of all, we are looking now on those which are bank core adjacent products. Yeah? So because first thing what obviously we need to address is that if our core starts to shrink because of these challengers coming in, then how we grow. So we look on this more on this near orbits. And obviously, if you don't know this example of Mina Schenser of Mina Technologies, this is just one fine example. And then another fine example, look what Meniga does, and obviously Meniga is our partner, so that's a bit highlighting where we are aiming for. Is it feasible scenario for a bank to focus entirely on the front office and platform and let others focus on back office utility corner? Hard question. I think that this book is not yet written, and we will discover evidences on the road what is most feasible to concentrate. But I am thinking that one area definitely where banks need to concentrate is on what they are good so far, and what we are good so far is really having those connections to really many customers and having trust from those customers. And then if you capitalize on that, I think if you are in this data economy, data is new gold, why not to kind of work with this new currency of new economy, which is this data. And obviously it's kind of a buzzword and so on, abused, but I think this is a real, hinting real future, at least for some banks, and I think Swedbank is very well kind of built for such a purpose.
Very good.
Yep.
Thank you once again, Girts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.